Hello students, I am Sanjana Kavatgi, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, AITM, Belgavi. Let us continue with the video lectures on computer organization. In this video, I'll be continuing with the second module, that is basic input-output organization. Okay, in the previous video, we have studied about accessing I/O devices. So with reference to that concept, let us take up one example. To review the basic concepts like what we have seen in the previous video, let us consider a simple example of I/O operations involving a keyboard and a display device in the computer system. So there are 4 registers that are shown in the figure. Okay, these 4 registers are used in the data transfer operations. Okay, the 4 registers are data in, data out, status and control registers. These are used in the data transfer operations. So the register status, the status register, it contains 2 control flags, that is SIN and SOUT. Okay, which provides the status information for the keyboard and the display unit respectively. Okay, so these two will be providing uh, status information to the keyboard as well as the display unit, that is your monitor respectively. So the two flags KIRQ and DIRQ in these registers are used in conjunction with the interrupts. We will study what is an interrupt. Okay, so just remember here these two KIRQ and DIRQ. So in the status register, these are used for the interrupts. They are used in conjunction with the interrupts. Okay, and then we have KEN and DEN bits in the register control. Okay, so that is in the control register. These two are used for the display as well as the keyboard, that is in the control register. Okay, so data from the keyboard are made available in the data in register. So whatever input is we are getting from the keyboard, that will be available in the data in register, and the data that is sent to the display will be stored in the data out register. Okay, so let us see this program. This program, it reads a line of characters from the keyboard and stores it in a memory buffer starting at the location line, capital LINE. Okay, so and then it is going to call a subroutine process. Subroutine is nothing but like your functions in the C programming. Okay, if you want to add two numbers, what you will do, you will write a function to add two numbers and you'll be calling that function in the main function. Okay, so that add function or sum of two numbers add function will be there, no? That is nothing but a subroutine. Okay, so here also it calls a subroutine process to process the input line. Okay, so as each character we go on reading, it will be echoed back to the display. So whatever is entered in the keyboard, that is going to be displayed onto the monitor. Okay, so and then register R0 is used as the pointer to the memory buffer area. As I said, when I enter a character from the keyboard, it will be buffered. Okay, and then that will be sent to the display. Okay, so in that case R0 is used as a pointer to the memory buffer area. Okay, so the contents of R0 are updated using the auto increment addressing mode, which we have studied in the first module. Okay, so that the successive characters are stored in the successive memory locations. Okay, so let us understand this program. Move hash line comma R0, this is nothing but it is initializing a memory pointer. Okay, so R0 is used as a pointer to the memory buffer here, as I told. Okay, and then we have test bit hash 0 comma status. We are checking the status of the SIN flag. Okay, that is test SIN. Okay, and then there is branch equal to 0, wait k. Okay, k is for the keyboard, d is for the display, just remember. So wait for the character to be entered from the keyboard. Okay, so and then move data in comma R1, just wait for the keyboard to enter a character and then read that character. Okay, that character whatever is read will be stored in data in, and data in contents will be moved to R1. Okay, So this is for wait K. It is for the keyboard. Next, coming to display, check the status flag, that is S out. Okay, and then branch equal to 0, wait D. Wait for the display to become ready to display a character. Okay, and then we have move R1 comma data out. This R1 is containing the data that was entered from the keyboard. That R1 will be transferred to, contents of R1 will be transferred to data out register. Okay, and then move R1 comma R0 plus. Okay, store this character and then increment the pointer or advance the pointer to point to the next memory location. Next, we should just check if there is any carriage return. Okay, that is compare hash $0 comma R1. Okay, if not, if branch is not equal to 0, and then wait K. If not, get another character, move hash $08 comma data out. Otherwise, send the next line feed. Okay, move to the next line and then call a process. Call a subroutine to process the input line. So this process is a subroutine which is going to process the input line. Okay, so once character is entered, each character is checked to see if there is any carriage return, that is CR character, which has the ASCII code 0D. So that is why we are comparing 0D comma R1 here. Okay, if carriage return in terms of ASCII code will be 0D. Okay, that is in representation of hexadecimal. So if there is any carriage return, the line feed character which is in terms of ASCII code, that is 0A, again it is in the hexadecimal value, it is sent to move to the cursor one line down. Okay, that is to the next line on the display, and the subroutine process will be called. Otherwise, the program loops back to the wait for another character from the keyboard. Okay, if there is any carriage return, we are going to compare and check. Okay, if there is no carriage return, go to the next line, or else keep on entering the characters. Okay, so the example what we have seen now, it gives an example of a program controlled IO, wherein the processor will repeatedly checks the status flag to achieve the required synchronization between the processor and the input output device. Okay, input output device are here keyboard and the monitor respectively. Okay, so the status flag is used to check the status of the processor and the input output devices to maintain the synchronization between them. Okay, so we say that the processor polls the device. Okay, so there are two other mechanisms for implementing the IO operations. First one is the interrupts, the second one is the direct memory access. Okay, so in case of interrupts, synchronization will be achieved by having the IO device send a special signal over the bus. Okay, so whenever it is ready for a data transfer operation. Just a small example I will give you for interrupt. Just assume your class is going on. Okay, in between some person comes with a notice or something. Okay, for example, one attender comes with a notice. What will happen? Your professor will stop the class and he will check who has come, and if there is any notice regarding some information, he will read out the notice and he will send the person back. And then what he will do, he will continue with the class where he had stopped, or he or she has stopped. Okay, so that is nothing but the interrupt. What is the interrupt here? The person coming and disturbing the class is the interrupt. Your professor is like a processor. Processor will be executing the program. So whenever there is an interrupt, it stops its execution and checks the interrupt what has arrived. Okay, and then it will serve the interrupt. Like once the attender has come, your professor is serving him. Okay, he is going to check what information he has got, and he is going to read out and inform the students over there. Okay, so he is serving the interrupt there. Okay, once that work is done, that attender will go back and he will resume his class. Okay, that is nothing but resuming the program execution from where it had stopped. He will not again restart the class, or he will not begin the class from the beginning. He will just start the class from where he had stopped. Same in the same way, the processor also will not restart the program, or it will not execute the entire program once again. It will start execution from where it was stopped. So that is interrupt. So in case of interrupts, synchronization is achieved by having the IO device send a special signal over the bus whenever it is ready for a data transfer operation. Okay, so next we have one more technique, that is direct memory access. It is a technique used for high speed IO devices. We have a separate concept on direct memory access that we will study in detail. Okay, so this direct memory access, it involves having the device interface transfer data directly to or from the memory without continuous involvement by the processor. Just to give a basic idea, in direct memory access, the processor and the IO devices, the memory and the IO devices will be participating directly, and the use of processor intermediately is being reduced, or it is not used at all. Okay, uh, so these two concepts we will study in detail in the upcoming videos. Now we shall study the interrupts in detail. With reference to the previous example we have seen at the beginning of the video, the program will enter into a loop. In that particular loop, what it does, it just keeps on checking, or it repeatedly checks the device status, IO device status. So during that period, the processor will not be performing any useful computation. Okay, so there are many situations like this wherein we can perform some other tasks while waiting for an IO device to become ready. Okay, so to make this happen, what we can do is we can arrange the IO devices in such a way that it will alert the processor when it becomes ready to ready to be used. Okay, so it can be done by sending one hardware signal. That signal is called an interrupt to the processor. Okay, so at least one of the bus control lines called an interrupt request line is usually dedicated for this purpose itself. So interrupt is what? It is a hardware signal that is sent by the IO devices to the processor to indicate that the IO device is ready to be used, or the IO device has something to be processed by the processor. So this hardware signal is handled by one of the bus control lines. So we have three buses: address bus, data bus, and the control bus. Okay, so the control bus will have an interrupt request line that is dedicated only for this purpose. Okay, so then the processor is no longer required to continuously check the status of the external devices. So it can use that waiting period, that time period when the processor has nothing to do. uh, that time period can be used for other useful functions. Okay, so by making use of the interrupt, such waiting periods we can eliminate actually. Okay, so this is about the basic idea of interrupts. We shall study some examples now. Let us take up one example. Consider a task that requires some computations to be performed and the results to be printed on a line printer. So the output device here is the printer. So this is followed by more computations and output, and so on. Okay, so let the program consist of two routines. One is compute and the other one is print. Okay, so let us assume that compute produces a set of n lines of output to be printed by the print routine. Compute will generate a set of lines. Okay, lines of output, that is nothing but the output. So that is to be printed onto the printer by the print routine or print function, you can say. Okay, so the required task may be performed by repeatedly executing first the compute routine and then the print routine. Okay, first we have to generate some n lines of input, that is by repeatedly executing the compute routine, and then these these printed lines have to be printed onto the printer using the print routine. So the printer accepts only one line of text at a time. Okay, so hence the print routine must send one line of text, wait for it to be printed, then send the next line, and so on. So the print routine will process one line at a time. So it has to send one line to the printer and let it print, okay, and then send the next line, and so on until all the results have been printed. Okay, so the disadvantage of this approach is what? The processor spends a considerable amount of time waiting for the printer to become ready. Okay, so if it is possible to overlap printing and computation, that is to execute the compute routine while printing is in progress. So if we can do that, a faster overall speed of execution will be done. Okay, so if I can overlap the generating the output lines and as well as printing the lines, what I can do, the overall speed of execution will be more here. Okay, so this can be achieved as follows. Okay, the problem is this, the solution is given now. Okay, first compute routine is executed to produce first n lines of output. Okay, and then the print routine is executed to send the first line of text to the printer. Okay, so at this point, instead of waiting for the line to be printed, what can be done? The print routine may be temporarily suspended and execution of the compute routine is continued. Okay, so whenever the printer becomes ready, it alerts the processor by sending the interrupt request signal. So as a response, the processor interrupts the execution of the compute routine and then it transfers the control to the print routine. Okay, so then the print routine will send the second line to the printer and it is again suspended. So again, once it is suspended, again the interrupted compute routine will be resumed and the execution at the point of interruption will be continued, or it will be resumed at the point where it was interrupted before. Okay, so this process will continue until all end lines have been printed and the print routine ends. Okay, so the print routine will be restarted whenever again next set of end lines are available for printing. So if compute routine takes longer time to generate end lines than the time required to print them, the processor will be performing some useful computations all the time. So it is not wasting any time waiting for the printer to get ready. It will keep on processing the compute routine to generate more number of lines and then that will be given to the printer to print. So this example illustrates the concept of interrupts. The routine executed in response to an interrupt request is called as the interrupt service routine, which is the print routine in this example. Okay, so the interrupts can bear considerable resemblance to subroutine calls. We shall study one more example of interrupt in the next video. We shall continue the concept in the next video. Stay tuned. Thank you.